Hello, I'm Evan Olson. Today I'll be presenting my UX Design Fundamentals projects. I've been tasked to develop a language learning app from start to finish. Let me take you through my process. The first step was to determine my target user base. Based off of user interviews, I developed the persona Toshiro Suzuki. So who is Toshiro? He's a 32-year-old male who was born and raised in Japan. He was educated and works as an engineer. He frequently travels to the United States for work. He was previously educated in school in English, but has difficulties creating conversation. He's a goal-ended individual who is always looking to improve his skills. Now that we've gotten to know Toshiro, let's understand his motivations. Toshiro needs a way to learn English that will let him actively converse with native speakers. As an engineer, his communication skills will be constantly showcased when presenting problem solutions. He's been quoted saying, "As a frequent traveler, I look to make meaningful relationships wherever I go. Being able to converse in the local language goes a long way." So what are some of Toshiro's challenges? He has difficulties applying his English knowledge to real-world impromptu conversations. His frequent international travel prevents him from taking any in-person classes. And his schooling has taught him great, proper English, but not in the way that the locals would speak it. So how can we help him? Creating an app that would have small, manageable lessons he could take during flight would help promote retention. A way to track progress and give a sense of accomplishment will keep him engaged. And a learning system that practices vocabulary as well as a conversational way of using it would go a long way for him. To see what the other apps on the market were like, I did some competitive analysis. First app I reviewed was Quizlet. It has a great quiz function and other gamifications that help users learn which topics they need to study more and keep them engaged. Although their homepage is a little bit cluttered and might be a little too much or feel overwhelming to some users. The second app I reviewed was Flashcards Maker. It's got a nice onboarding tutorial to help get you started at launch, but there's no quiz or games or any other features to really help you understand which flashcards you understand and don't. The third app I reviewed was Flashcard. It had a very appealing visual scheme with minimal distractions, although the decks and cards could not be edited or deleted once created. The next step was to create some user flows for some frequent tasks people using my app would go through. The first task was completing a lesson, starting with at the app launch, going through the login or sign up, using either Facebook, Google, or your email, choosing the language, getting to the home screen, choosing your lesson, progressing through the lesson, and then either completing it or retrying the lesson. The next task I thought users would go through quite frequently was completing a conversation quiz. So again, we would start at launching the app, and this time you would log in with either Google, Facebook, or email, because this is based off progress in the app. Next, you go to the home screen. Then you could choose which chatbot you would have a conversation with. Then the user would progress through the conversation, and then you get a results at the end of either completion or needing to try again. I used the Crazy 8 method to brainstorm a bunch of ideas for interface, login screens, and what type of lessons and what a lesson might look like. I used dot voting to determine which ideas fit the aesthetic and functionality that I was aiming for. Jumping into my early prototype, I wanted to build an app that had multiple ways the user could sign up and log in, an easy way to navigate their lessons on the home screen, different types of lessons, both reading and verbal, a way to test their conversational skills, and then a reward system that showed them they were making progress. After developing the prototype, I decided to take it to test. I designed a usability test with 4 users. The tasks that I presented them with were if they could sign up for an account easily, is the process of completing a lesson clear, could they easily find and complete a conversation quiz, and would they always be able to find the home screen to start new lessons. Some of the things I learned during this were that signing in by email wasn't functioning. The lesson progression wasn't clear, although I thought it wasn't clear to the users. Finding the conversations were hard for them because they were set up differently than the lesson plan, and there was no way to end lessons mid-lesson. So based on all the feedback from my usability testing, I was able to put some of it into action and make a version 2 of my app. So I'll take you through that now. First, you can sign up now, and the email function works. I've also added in some onboarding screens to help you find and navigate through everything. This is the home screen where you can check out your lessons, your conversations, or your flashcards. You're able to progress through a lesson with a progression bar. Nice job! And you can always get back to the home screen to try out the next test. And then I added in functionality for flashcards as well. You're able to jump between your made sets with definitions entered by Dialectric, or you can write your own. You're also able to create new sets and save them to whatever topic you'd like. So let's get into my takeaways from this experience. I learned that competitive analysis gives you a good insight into what works and what doesn't work in the industry and what features are out there. I also learned the importance of usability testing and iterating on your design, and that you can always learn something that you might not have seen yourself. I also learned how to better empathize with users and understand their point of view. Some of the things that I think I need to work on are my user interview process. I think knowing what questions to ask will help me learn what information I can get. I also need to work on better time management. I spent a lot of time on initial designs for this when I could have been spending them more on interviews or user flow later on. I also need to learn to be better open to feedback, and that not always try to put out the right answer, because you can always iterate on your design. Thank you for listening to my presentation. This was Dialectric and Evan Olson.